and to now invite the distinguished representative of the Russian Federation to take the floor.
Mr. President, before I make my explanation of vote, I would like to raise one issue. Consider it as a matter of a point of order. And I count you will deduct the time allotted to me for my explanation of vote from the statement I'm going to make now. Before the vote, Mr. President, you gave the floor to the distinguished representative of Serbia. I would like to remind you that this is not a distinguished representative of Serbia. This is the President of the Republic of Serbia, and I think that you should have recognized it, respected his high office, and addressed him accordingly. Now I'm coming to the explanation of vote.
Mr. Chairman, dear colleagues, today we are witnessing a sad page in the history of the General Assembly. A number of delegations led by Germany decided to abuse the authority of the General Assembly and under the guise of a resolution establishing the day of commemoration, adopt a political declaration, the purpose of which is to say that the initiator of the declaration is to the contrary. Demonize a people of the former Yugoslavia, destroying the British Peace Agreement and approving UN Security Council Resolutions 10 and 31. Not surprisingly, the resolution adopted by non-consensus not only did not call for the full implementation of the letter of appointment, but did not even mention it. Adopted this resolution is not a consensus resolution. And the warehouse that the organizers expected, look at the numbers, did not support this resolution more than the United Nations member states supported it. The permanent representative of Bosnia and Herzegovina, who initiated the project, has exceeded his authority in this regard. According to the Constitution, the guest of Herzegovina, which is part of the British Agreement, the introduction of the resolution adopted today must be approved by all members of the country's presidium. We see this as a further confirmation of the consistent line of some Bosnian elites and their Western counterparts to undermine the role of the presidency as the highest speaker of the consensus position of the multi-ethnic society of Bosnia and Herzegovina on issues of national importance. Recall that the balance of interests of the three states, which made up the people and the two nicknames, was at the heart of the Dayton Peace Agreement that ended the bloody civil war in Yugoslavia. Initially, the authors of the initiative misled members of the General Assembly. They declared that the resolution led to reconciliation, while concealing that it lacked the main elements of the consent of all peoples and the etiquette of the state. Even the fact that the draft was submitted for discussion has led to heightened tensions in Bosnia and Herzegovina and in the Balkans as a whole. Thousands of demonstrations, bathrooms, bows, letters confirm this. Serbian member of the presidency of Bosnia and Herzegovina, Jelović Janović, and Serbian representatives at the meeting of the United Nations Security Council on April 30th and May 15th. Then what is the question we are discussing today? The statement issued by the National Assembly of the Republic of RS on May 22nd has a direct legal dimension. We would like to draw attention to the fact that it is absolutely inappropriate to draw a parallel between the resolution on the Rwandan genocide and the mediator's decision today. The draft resolution on Rwanda was agreed upon internally before consideration by the General Assembly and subsequently by regional trade union groups. In the case of this resolution, we have not seen any attempt to agree on a common approach. Instead, the aforementioned group of friends prepared and made public the draft as a finished product on the basis of the principle of those who love, hiding behind several rounds of formal consultations. All calls by representatives of responsible United Nations member states, including Russia and Serbia, to bring the issue of the Day of Remembrance for the victims of the Bosnian War back to the national level for discussion by all three countries, including the constituent peoples and the BIT, and to reach a unified position in the region were rejected. But the list of co-sponsors includes Germany, the United States, France, the United Kingdom, Finland, Ireland, Italy, Liechtenstein, and even New Zealand. Even the Netherlands, whose so-called peacekeeping battalion played a shameful role in the 1995 Srebrenica tragedy, did not hesitate to join the co-sponsors. It is clear that the sponsors of today's resolution are deliberately pushing Bosnia and Herzegovina into confrontation, regardless of the price they paid in the civil war of the 1990s. At that time, 100,000 people died, and the bloody tragedy of this war not only affected Bosnians but also Serbs and Croats. It seems that this is done to prevent the Bosnian people from ever reconciling. We see these actions as a threat to peace and security to the country and to the entire region. It's all cynical and hypocritical. However, it is even more surprising that Germany has decided to become the main sponsor of the resolution. The country that ignited 2 world wars in the 20th century destroyed the concentration camps. Millions of people responsible for mass crimes in Africa, who were most actively involved in the collapse of Yugoslavia and the 1995 Sarajevo bombing, are now trying to teach others from the podium of the General Assembly the importance of national reconciliation. We are convinced that Germany has no moral right to even refer to the term genocide in relation to anything other than its horrific crimes. Let us remind you that the hall we are in today was created for the crimes of Nazi Germany. The goal is to prevent such crimes against humanity once and for all. We would also like to point out that the sponsors of the draft resolution have taken action to break the status quo of General Assembly Resolution 69-200-323 and to declare 9th December the International Day of All Genocide, thus opening Pandora's box. Recall that the United Nations General Assembly's decision of 45 was not adopted on the genocide and other crimes committed by Nazi Germany against the Soviet people during the Great Patriotic War of 1941. These crimes of the Nazi regime claimed the lives of 27 million Soviet citizens. Many European people, including the Serbs, have suffered a lot. We have not forgotten this, and we will not forget it. No one has been forgotten, and nothing has been forgotten. Mr. President, we can't bypass the country. Several delegations made statements on the importance of complying with the international track judgment of the International Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia of the United Nations International Court of Justice. The International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, its successor, the residual mechanism, was established to ensure the impartiality of the administration of justice. The task was a complete failure. Their biased and politicized solutions do nothing to promote sustainable reconciliation in the volcano. These trousers are a residual mechanism that will only deepen the divisions in the Balkans. They blame the Serbs almost exclusively for the events of the 1990s, ignoring the many crimes committed by the other parties. Conflict. The voices of the Serbian victims were never heard, and they did not receive any justice. For the purposes of the interviews and the mechanism, Serbian victims of crimes do not appear to exist at all. That's not how real justice works. Not to mention that the evidence base of the interview was largely based on controversial legal concepts invented by the court itself. His decision is 1,000 pages long, but the subjective elements of genocide are inferred from the retelling of the content of a telephone call by a witness, and only on one side of the wire. The International Court of Justice did not provide details, but accepted all the conclusions of the MTB, his own dissenting opinions. In their decision of February 26, 2007, several judges made this point clear. We have heard on many occasions, Mr. President, that the resolution submitted is merely intended to fill the gap, reaffirm the ruling of the International Court of Justice, and promote long-term national reconciliation. However, the bitter irony is that today's vote clearly shows how divided the international community is between the mediator and the above-mentioned decision. The adoption of this resolution is a victory for its initiators. If the authors aim to divide the General Assembly, what have they achieved? What did we warn them of in advance? They did a great job. Thank you.
I should like to thank the distinguished representative of the Russian Federation for his statement